Hi, this is Nick George with Clouds Diamond Sharpening, just to show you an Oster variable speed cattle head clipper. The difference is a shear head has a blade that looks like that, and it's for sheep, and this is for cattle. It's a square blade. Okay, so first thing I notice is that's broken. Okay, so let's take the blade off and I'll show you what that does. A little bit dirty. There's not too much play, there's a little bit, but with this broken, the yoke, it doesn't hold the tension all the way across the blade evenly. See, because half of it will be weak and half of it won't cut. The block, which is inside, this little thing, is like a drive. It's called a block. Basically it makes this yoke go back and forth by going in there. Makes it go back and forth. Alright, let me blow this off. See if it runs. Okay, so the motor sounds fine. The head needs some grease. I could hear it's making a little rattle sound. Basically, let's take this apart. Okay, looks good. Grease around there, and the grease don't look too dirty, so it doesn't need to be replaced. You check this shaft. If it's down in there a little bit, that is unacceptable. You will have to take it apart, take that gear out, and take the housing of this and screw it back into the housing so this comes out all the way. Alright, so I'm gonna just put a little grease down in there just so I make sure it has it around the So that's the head basically. Might as well just go ahead and repair the head. So a blade that doesn't have tension is a blade that won't cut. So tension is a very good part of it. See, it's broken. So it'll have to be replaced with a new one. Here's a new one. So I'll go ahead and take the inserts out. Put the inserts into the new yoke. The new block. Put a little oil on the shaft so you don't run your new block. Okay, so that's the head service. Okay, there's an oil hole there, so every day I use this, I'd probably oil that. Probably every blade I switched, I would oil that. It oils this block, and then the block will last longer, and the yoke will last longer, because there's oil in there. You don't really have to put any lube in there, because when you get it serviced, unless you never get it serviced, but if you get it serviced, I always put it in there. So I'll set the head down. Let's do the motor now. I hold the armature down to pry it up so it doesn't pull the armature, and then you have to reseat the brushes instead of just doing this to check them. And I'm gonna take all the way apart so you can see how I do it. Alright, so I clean the armature, looks nice. Check the bearings, make sure they're good. One thing you should look for, see these little ears? If they're broken, you'll have to replace the housing because it keeps this field from rocking left to right and front to back. So if they're broken, you'll need to replace the the housing. Alright, so let's put the cleaned armature back in. There we go. See, it moves. Well, if you hold this field down, it rolls better. Alright, so now I take the bearing holder, tighten it down so it holds your armature so it doesn't flop around. Put the brushes back in. Make sure the wires ain't gonna hit the armature, so move them back off it. Through the switch wires in between them, and then it goes onto this post over here, the spring. So then I put the spring on, and then push the switch down, and the spring actually pries from here and then pushes the switch out. So without this spring, you won't be able to turn your clipper on and off because it won't stick out far enough for you to do that. Seated down in there. Don't forget your little switch plate here. Okay. Pull the hair out of the top case. And what I do is I put that spring like right there, and then I push over this way to push the switch out. Make sure your switch is sticking out like that, so you could still turn it. That's what you want. Okay, let's check. See if it runs. There we go. Put your seal back on so the grease don't get down in the motor. That sounds a lot better. Let me go sharpen the blade and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back with the sharpened blades. There we go, that looks pretty good. So yeah, nice clean running surface. Let's put the blade back on. I usually loosen this until it gets to about that lip. See, you can barely see the points over. Go ahead and put it on. Put the yoke into these two holes. Loosen up these a little bit. And I look through and see the cutter move up and down. So let me go ahead and show you something. This is correct. See how you can see just barely a little light? If this cutter blade is over this comb, I see a lot of people do it. It won't work. It'll leave lines or it won't even cut. And this blade has to be flipped up like this. You can't flip it over and expect it to cut. Because it won't. Alright, so now I usually loosen it until I can feel it rattle. And then I go ahead and tighten it a little bit until it feels a little bit snug. If you're new at this and you don't know how to set the tension, what you could do is tighten it not all the way down, just tighten it pretty tight. See, now it's pretty tight. And then I'm going to go ahead and back it off twice. There you go, so that's about right. Never forget your oil, like I just did. That's really good. That's a Clipmaster, Oster Clipmaster variable speed cattle head clipper repair. Thank you for joining me on this wonderful adventure. Keep it sharp, keep it running, and keep it even sharper than it should be. Thank you.